The Warhammer 40K universe is stirring up a big debate online, this time about the idea of introducing female custodes. It seems like everyone has something to say about this, including many who usually don't talk about Warhammer at all. Critics are quick to jump in and accuse the game of following woke trends, often without much knowledge of the series. This has made the issue bigger than it might actually be, especially among the game's true fans. Let's put everybody aside and focus on the main issue: female custodes. Welcome back, I'm Rachel. And here at Arcade Axioms, we don't shy away from the tough questions, and we try to answer them with the power of the wisdom, that is, philosophically. So grab your guardian spears, join the fray, and let's delve together into the battle. Let's start with a rapid journey through the Warhammer 40K universe. Warhammer 40K is much more than just a game. It's an expansive universe filled with relentless battles and rich mythic storytelling. Born from a popular tabletop strategy game, this universe has expanded massively, morphing into various digital formats, each offering a unique glimpse into its war-ravaged galaxies. Warhammer 40K isn't just for tabletop enthusiasts anymore. It's found new life in everything from real-time strategy games to intense action RPGs, catering to gamers of all types. These digital adaptations do more than just replicate tabletop rules. They've broadened the original lore, which kicked off in 1982, adding new stories and characters, and deepening the narrative through 10 tabletop editions, multiple expansions, novels, and a variety of board and video games. Now, let's dive into the setting itself. In a nutshell, the world of Warhammer 40,000 is centered around an eternal battle for power and survival in a galaxy on the edge. Humanity is barely clinging to existence, constantly under threat from alien races and dark supernatural forces. The grim motto, "In the grim darkness of the far future, there is only war," perfectly captures the essence of this universe and has defined the grimdark genre of science fiction, known for its bleak, dystopian, and often violent themes. Among the numerous factions battling it out, the Imperium of Man stands out as an authoritarian regime, desperately fighting to maintain human dominance. In the sprawling empire of the Imperium of Man, the Custodes represent the pinnacle of might and loyalty. Known as the Emperor's Golden Legion, these warriors are more than just characters in a game. They symbolize the absolute power and enduring will of the Emperor himself. They tower above their Astartes brethren in stature and skill, serving as the ultimate protectors of humanity's heartland Terra. Interestingly, Custodes have yet to feature prominently in any video game adaptations, likely due to their lore. They seldom leave Terra and are primarily stationed at the Imperial Palace to safeguard their eternally slumbering sovereign. So it's a crucial role, but perhaps not one that easily translates into the dynamic action of a video game. Most importantly, for the sake of this video, they are male. I do not say so because they are always portrayed as male. But Custodes are portrayed solely as male because they have been anchored by their initial description as men in the 1987 Rogue Trader rulebook. Words like sons and brotherhood in later texts like the 8th edition Codex reinforce this male identity. However, the narrative takes a turn with the Horus Heresy Black Books, which have softened this stance since 2012, adopting a more gender-neutral tone that opens up new possibilities for their identity. But let's step back from the lore for a moment and think about this. What if we viewed the Custodes as gender-neutral? Let's explore this in practice and theory. From a practical standpoint, they are prime candidates for this. Custodes are completely altered by the gene enhancements. Their genetic enhancements are so extreme, applied before they even hit adolescence, that any traditional male or female distinctions get wiped out. It is implied that their gender would not matter because at the end of the gene enhancement process, they would simply look exactly like male Custodes. They would be transformed to such an extent that they end up looking identical, with none of the secondary sexual characteristics you'd typically see, because those just aren't relevant to their role. Children are taken in early infancy, and hormone treatment would render anything that could be described as a distinguishing factor invisible. Given this premise, the distinction between male and female in the context of Custodes does not make any sense because their extensive genetic enhancements erase any traditional gender distinctions. If the Custodes are so radically changed that traditional gender markers become irrelevant, what does that say about gender itself? Is it possible that in the world of Warhammer 40K, Gender could be a non-issue, something transcended by the very beings who defend humanity's last bastion. Philosophy might be helpful to answer the question. Let's draw a parallel with Plato. In his seminal work, The Republic, Plato presents a groundbreaking argument that both men and women should serve as guardians of the state without distinction. This notion was quite radical for his time, especially considering the societal norms of ancient Greece, where military roles were predominantly male, particularly admired in societies like Sparta. Plato's perspective was revolutionary. He recognized that the virtues attributed to warriors, like courage, were not exclusively masculine. In The Republic, he explicitly states that both men and women possess the natural aptitude required for guarding the state. He goes as far as to say that from a social and political viewpoint, the difference between men and women is as trivial as that between haired and bald men. This comparison underscores his belief that gender should not dictate the roles individuals can play in society. In some of his more provocative statements, Plato argues that women and men could even train together in gymnastics naked, as virtue, rather than clothing, should adorn them. This idea was meant to emphasize that in a just society, physical and metaphorical transparency would lead to a focus on capability rather than on superficial distinctions. Plato naturally does not dream of denying the existence of a sexual difference between man and woman, but he is also convinced that this sexual difference, which is ontological, must never be the basis of possible gender discrimination, since even women can occupy central roles in the military ranks. If we apply Plato's philosophy to their role as the ultimate defenders of humanity in the Warhammer 40K universe, it suggests that their gender should be irrelevant. Their primary function is to protect and serve. Their efficacy in this role should not be impacted by gender. Now, I have already addressed the idea of gender indistinction that seems to permeate our times in my video on Stellar Blade. Let's consider the philosophical term neutralization, as introduced by Schmitt. Schmitt speaks of an aspiration for a neutral sphere within the context of technocapitalism, which effectively neutralizes differences so that a homogenized identity emerges, one that masks its uniformity under the guise of diversity. This concept is about creating a society where distinctiveness is diminished and everyone mirrors an imposed standard, losing their unique identities in the process. This idea of neutralization finds resonance in Heidegger's description of the they, or man, in German, in his work, Being and Time. Heidegger describes this as an impersonal, passive existence where individuals conform to a generic societal norm, living lives that are not genuinely their own. This results in a society of homogenization, where individual uniqueness is lost, and everyone is just another face in the crowd, indistinct and valued more for their conformity than their unique attributes. And a prime example of this concept in literature is Aldous Huxley's Brave New World. Aldous Huxley's Brave New World, published in 1932, is a seminal piece of dystopian literature that explores the consequences of advanced science and technology on human society. In Huxley's vision of the future, the world is united under a totalitarian government that controls all aspects of life, from reproduction to emotion, using advanced technology. One of the most striking features of this society is its approach to gender. Differences still exist biologically, but the impact of gender on social roles and personal identity is minimized through rigorous conditioning and social planning. So the concept of gender neutrality doesn't explicitly center on the abolition of gender differences in the biological sense, but rather on minimizing the impact of gender on social roles and personal identity. The society in Brave New World uses advanced technology and conditioning to ensure that gender, while still biologically distinguishable, does not define an individual's role or potential in society. In Aldous Huxley's Brave New World, the concept of gender neutrality transcends the mere absence of gender differences, serving as a fundamental principle that shapes societal structure and individual identity. Incorporating a gender-neutral perspective into the Custodes not only aligns with modern notions of gender indistinction, but also reflects these deeper philosophical discussions about identity and homogenization. As such, the introduction of female custodes wouldn't just be a nod to gender inclusivity. It would resonate with broader themes of identity erasure. In Brave New World, societal roles are not dictated by gender but by caste. This classification is determined through a state-controlled genetic engineering process, ensuring that both men and women are conditioned to perform their designated tasks with equal efficiency. Huxley's society promotes a culture of open sexuality to diminish the impact of traditional gender roles, using sexual freedom as a mechanism of social control. Finally, gender roles linked to reproduction are obsolete in Brave New World, with human reproduction entirely managed through technological means. This separation of reproduction from individual identity fundamentally alters traditional gender roles. In the Warhammer 40K universe, the creation of custodes could be portrayed as entirely artificial, perhaps grown in gene forges similar to Huxley's hatchery and conditioning centers, thus removing traditional gender roles and focusing on their identity as elite warriors. From a young age, individuals in Brave New World are conditioned to accept their societal roles without gender bias, promoting uniformity and compliance. The rigorous training and psychological conditioning of the custodes from a young age could similarly ensure that all members, irrespective of gender, are molded into perfect guardians, aligning their skills and loyalties with the needs of the Imperium, rather than any gender-specific traits or roles. The introduction of female custodes in the Warhammer 40K universe could indeed offer a rich narrative exploration of themes like gender neutrality and identity within its dystopian setting. These themes resonate with broader literary discussions and could significantly enhance the storytelling within this dark, conflict-driven universe. I'm not suggesting that this is a good idea. In fact, it's a bleak and alarming view that mirrors the unsettling times we live in, reminiscent of dystopian novels like Brave New World and the grim universe of Warhammer 40K. This dark vision of the future could, however, teach us something valuable. It presents an opportunity to reevaluate and enhance the roles traditionally associated with genders, drawing on the best aspects of both. Imagine expanding roles in ways that each gender can excel, like the Space Marines representing male strengths and the Sisters of Battle symbolizing female resilience, standing firm against the blurring lines that threaten to erase distinct identities. Would this appeal to the publishers? It does not seem likely. First of all, they claim that there have always been female custodians. Yet this assertion contradicts decades of artwork and lore explicitly portraying custodes as male. This inconsistency between the publisher's statements and the established lore has left many fans feeling that the change is superficial, merely a nod to diversity rather than a meaningful narrative evolution. Then they released an incendiary statement. Warhammer is for everyone. One of the great powers of our hobby is its ability to bring people together in common cause, to build bonds and friendships that cross divides. We believe in and support a community united by shared values of mutual kindness and respect. Our fantasy settings are grim and dark, but that is not a reflection of who we are or how we feel the real world should be. We will never accept nor condone any form of prejudice, hatred, or abuse in our company or in the Warhammer hobby. We will continue to diversify the cast of characters we portray through miniatures, art, and storytelling, so everyone can find representation and heroes they can relate to. And if you feel the same way, wherever and whoever you are, we're glad you are part of the Warhammer community. If not, you will not be missed. While commendable in its intent to foster inclusivity, the statement's focus on diversification comes off as a simplistic response to a complex issue. The commitment to diversity is vital, but it risks being perceived as superficial if not integrated into the narrative fabric of the universe in a thoughtful, organic way. The changes should feel integral to the universe and its stories. Fans and critics alike may see this as an opportunity missed to delve deeper into the transformative potential of these changes beyond just adding diversity for its own sake. It seems like a wasted idea, with solid grounds in literature, but very bad executed. In essence, the publisher's stance seems to be, this is the new reality, accept it. This raises a crucial question. In a universe where lore and roles can be rewritten on a whim without any grounding explanation, how can fans remain deeply connected? The issue isn't just about altering traditions, but about doing so with respect and clarity. Honoring tradition isn't about clinging to the relics and venerating the ashes of an old past, but preserving the essence of the narrative, nurturing it, and passing it thoughtfully to future generations. From father to son, changes should be made carefully and deliberately, preserving the core of what has always made Warhammer 40K special. It's about ensuring that the flame of the original vision continues to burn brightly, even as it evolves. The danger lies in succumbing to what Martin Heidegger described as the incapacity for differentiation, a future where uniqueness is eroded under the guise of neutrality, where every distinction is flattened in the pursuit of a homogeneous narrative. As we adapt and change, we must ensure that we do not lose the richness that defines the Warhammer 40K universe. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this discussion and want more content like this, please leave a comment, give this video a thumbs up, and subscribe. Happy mindful gaming! See you next week!